Evaluate the integral from 1 to 9 of x minus 1 over the square root of x dx. Now, this is maybe a smidge more complicated, because if you look at the integrand, the thing we're integrating, that is not the derivative of anything super obvious, at least the way it's written, but we can split it up, and that's going to make our lives a little bit easier. So we can write this as the integral from 1 to 9 of x over root x minus 1 over root x, all dx. And we can even do a little bit more. X over root x is just root x. And I'll show you why in a moment if you don't already know. I'm going to do this off to the side. X over root x. Remember, x is just the same thing as the square root of x squared. So you can write x as root x times root x. And then you can cancel a root x in the numerator and denominator, and you're just left with the square root of x. So this is a simpler way of writing x over the square root of x. And then we can write both of these as powers of x. So this first one is x to the 1/2, because the square root is the same as 1/2 power, minus x to the negative 1/2, because negative exponents give us something in the denominator. And once we've done that, we can go ahead and take the antiderivative of each of those terms. We know that we add 1 to the exponent and then divide it by the new power. So 1/2 plus 1 is 3/2. So this is going to be x to the 3/2 over 3/2. And then if we take negative 1/2 and add 1 to it, we get positive 1/2. So that's going to be x to the 1/2 over 1/2. We've got to evaluate this at 1 and 9. Now we can make this a little bit nicer. Dividing by 3/2 is the same as multiplying by 2/3. So this is going to be 2/3 x to the 3/2. And then minus, what is this going to be? Dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2. So it's going to be 2x to the 1/2, evaluated at 1 and 9. Now let's go through and evaluate this at those limits. We've got 2/3 times 9 to the 3/2 minus 2 times 9 to the 1/2 minus that same thing, but with a 1 where the 9 was. All right. Now let's go through and evaluate these powers of 9. 9 to the 3/2 is the same as the square root of 9 cubed. The square root of 9 is 3, and 3 cubed is 27. So that's going to be times 27. Then minus 2 times 9 to the 1/2 is the same as the square root of 9, which is 3. And then in this second set of parentheses, 1 to any power is just 1. So that's very simple. Now on the left, 2/3 of 27 is 18. And then minus 6. On the right, we've got 2/3 minus 2. Now 18 minus 6 is 12. So we've got 12. And then if we distribute that subtraction, it's going to be minus 2/3 and then plus 2. And so that ends up being 14 minus 2/3. And we can either write that as a mixed number, 13 and 1/3, or we can put those over a common denominator. 14 is the same as 42/3, right? It's the same as 42/3. 14 times 3 is 42. And if we subtract 2/3 from that, we get 40/3. Most online homework platforms prefer improper fractions to mixed numbers. Also, many times in math, we prefer that because it's so much easier if you've got to take that answer and do extra steps to it, like multiply it by something or whatnot. It's a lot easier to deal with an improper fraction than a mixed number. So oftentimes the preference is an improper fraction over a mixed number.